Good morning.
Now can we start?
Okay.
Yeah.
Skoyak on the phone.
Anywhere?
No, okay. Wrong. But that's okay. To pronounce my name right every time you use it, but that's okay. Your name is John Vaughn. We discussed bus safety. The bus is moving. But yet, the beach, I think it's either, when I called the real time scheduling, by 3 minutes. I went back to Clearwater and catch the 52 bus. I called customer service and I asked them if there was a bus going. And the last one stopped, I believe, at 10 a.m. in the morning. So I basically, except for maybe like planning ahead and trying to catch an earlier bus. 4 bus from the 18 bus by 3 minutes. I hear them calling the other bus sometimes. So I noticed today that the 52 arrives when the 52 leaves. We're getting to the speedway. There's another 52. I just want to run into the speedway and get something quick. Got an electric wheelchair, but I decided to use this and try and beat my diabetes. No vegetables that grow below the ground, according to what a piece of tiramisu. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. Start running somewhere around 5 a.m. in the morning. Bathroom at Park Street Terminal from at least. There's a security guard there at night there's actually 2 security till the last bus stops running. But yet there's no clean. The cleaning people start at 8 a.m. in the morning, work to 12 p.m. and 8 a.m. in the morning because they should be clean anyway when they open them up. What I propose is that if the PSTA and the other people get there that do the cleaning, and then have the cleaning people not start at 8 a.m. and if they want, I can work from 8 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. when the security guard's there and clean the bathrooms. I do not want to work for the cleaning company. I have a 2-year business degree. So if the PSA wants to hire me as a cleaning person, because you used to have one with much more money than that. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heisenbutler. And people like you.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't have time to come to this meeting.
Well,
I just turned 60 on December 16th.
Happy birthday,
and I'm looking ready to retire soon, hopefully. I know from Pasco to Hillsborough to Bradenton to South Sarasota, to almost all of Pinellas County, I can visualize it in my head.
Good.
And not even think about it.
Thank you very much for the information. And drivers and the drivers, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Terrific. Thank you.
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Heisenbuttle. I'm
Very
practicing
good.
your
You,
name.
you actually pronounced it right that time.
There you go. Number
So
19.
moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Brad.
Appoint a new chair and vice chair.
Right, so the system of PSTA, you legislative committee right now has only 4 members because we learned just 2 days ago, I learned, that with Councilwoman Gina Driscoll.
Oh.
Okay.
And Lisa was on the legislative committee this month,
Yeah.
right?
Has she,
Did she volunteer?
has she, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
She was appointed.
Just maybe a few days ago to the whole board, because we have a number of vacancies. So, but I'm in the process of scheduling another nominating committee, because we're gonna need to fill all these.
And I haven't gotten a chance to.
Action today, if we don't have our 4th member.
Well, we do have
Yeah,
a
you
quorum.
can still,
I mean,
yeah, you can
we have-
still.
Server at 2-year terms that can be renewed at the committee's pleasure.
Did you feel it?
Well, no, I'm just looking at one of you to.
Janet.
What? My right.
Okay.
You're to my right. I like to start on my right.
Janet, I was
And
just.
then I'll ask
Janet, thank you very much.
you, Joe.
I'll be vice chair.
All right? Joe?
Do you desire to continue?
Do, but
Then I would nominate Janet Long for continuation as chair.
Second.
and so,
Second.
Done.
hello?
So, Rachel has also sent an email committee on willingness to, we are currently looking at 2 different in front of you to Tallahassee, 11th and 12th, and then a second trip during the people who have expressed interest.
Yes.
Who do you have that responded?
Richard Bennett said trip to DC, and you, Commissioner Long, said yes to all of it.
Tallahassee, it's very important.
Either trip, or both, or
Both.
I apologize if I didn't respond, but I just overlooked the memo.
So, for the record, may I ask if we can put some,
Yeah.
based on some past experiences? Well, I know that those of us sitting right here benefit of PSTA and our citizens that we're trying to serve. So it's very important that if you are committing to go, that you the agency, if you use it as an opportunity to go sightseeing or off on your own tangent that isn't related to advocating for our agency, and since our agency is
Trying to figure out who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah, I never
it
experienced
doesn't
that.
matter, it doesn't matter.
I
It doesn't
I didn't ask you to
matter.
tell me, I was just thinking of it.
I know then we work so hard with our advocates, both RSA and Ben Scoria, to schedule these meetings, and you go, and the people that are supposed to be there are off sightseeing. Else joins our committee, or whoever, even the members that are not part of our committee, that are on our board, please, Brad, will you have that conversation with them? I would be great.
That's why we adopt legislative priorities that are fairly straightforward. There's folks to schedule meetings that are related to the items that are on our RSA wants to talk about. I mean, you all generally know the difference between the committee weeks and then the during committee week, and then one during, closer to the midpoint. I guess that would be about at the end of the midpoint of the session.
In those meetings, the members and any key committee staff to assure that we're talking to the right people to share the ask. And then the meeting in March is so that just as we're starting to hit stride and they're answering questions. But to Janet's point, RSA is committed to making sure that we're providing any support you need to make sure that there's clear, delineated objectives and goals. And then when you get on the ground, like we've done in past points, the strategy, do some, just kind of basic guidelines of, how we break the ice when we get to a meeting, how we manage and most effectively use assess based on which board members come up, who on the team may have the strongest personal relationship with any given member. The team has traveled up as we go to each individual meeting, could be, kind of responsibility to keep the messaging on point, to make sure that we're helping manage the conversation so that we get the takeaways that are desired by the
on a trip where Commissioner Justice and or myself remember that we both have floor privileges, and we can use that to follow up on anybody that we haven't been able to get in front of while they're on the
rules of the House of not lobbying them while they're doing business. So long as we don't break any rules, we will use your assets.
Don't worry, we don't want to
Caution that members who are on the same board take when they're in a meeting talking about issues that are before this board, that all those sunshine rules.
A lot of times we have to divide and conquer anyways. We'll have, we call it the leapfrog, where we'll have more than one group taking off so that we can maximize your time. We really want, if you're making this trip, especially considering on the ground, is truly as strong of an advocacy opportunity for the people.
Excellent. Okay.
May I?
Yes.
While we're on this subject, I would hope that involved and committed to transportation disadvantaged and paratransit, that I won't step on your toes when you're doing BRT and Clearwater. We've done a pretty good job on that, haven't we, Brad?
Yeah.
Presenting and finding those people that are.
Good job of getting us in front of the
It's
most
been
important
awesome. It's been a great relationship, and I just can't
Yeah.
say enough for RSA. Thank you.
And to your point, transportation disadvantage, although only one of our to assess the highest and best use of each of your time, those that have influence over.
At least the February 11th and February 12th trip is not being coordinated with T-BARTA. But one thought I had, and I mentioned it to Ron yesterday, was perhaps if we could, is to invite the T-BARTA board members, or T-BARTA executive director and board members, to join us in Tallahassee, specifically if we're going to be advocating on behalf of that.
And Brad, this is Natalie. Ron and I discussed this morning because he wasn't able to join the call. We need to get him personally introduced and established up here. So he's coming up with your idea, and I think, and I know he's talked with Commissioner Long about this as well. So I think that there's to do a collaborative trip. It's well timed with thinking about the appropriations process.
And Natalie, one moment, please. Did you make sure I didn't, overlook something?
T-BARTA is coming up on the larger contingency. If we can get PSTA, not March, but April, then we would be in really good shape.
Did Ron talk to you about the conversation I requires us to spend money before we always behind the 8 ball, right?
Grant, we were looking to seek a traditional line.
It up is because that was the intent for last year. Work that was introduced into before we could get reimbursed. So going forward, truly,
necessary. But we'll confer on that. But I don't believe we've done once. So there's a big part of that component that may very well have been. I'll circle back with Ron, but we're on the same page.
correct.
Well, and the reason I did how best we can support T-BARTA. While I know that they are, I want to be supportive of the agenda. What you're suggesting, Natalie, is trips, and then we'll try to coordinate a joint trip.
As we assess the meetings, opportunity for meetings for PSTA, that T-BARTA specifically on another priority of PSTA that is not and independent of PSTA, that those are also happening, and that the right people
Started to make, Brad, about the fact that we are at our cap and kind of need the discussion of what would it take for them to come on or come up with a strategy for talking bill, and that if we do it right and we get it all, would give us an opportunity to bring those folks in with the discussions in the community and in the region, that they might just put that on your radar for future discussion.
There was a newly appointed last night was appointed to the same PP Tampa Bay
The
Beach's
Douglas,
chamber.
yeah, Tampa Bay Beach's chamber.
Seriously?
And so he just won by default, but
Yes?
Yep.
That's unbelievable.
I was gonna.
They practically-
So yeah.
Well, so,
yes, ma'am.
Well,
And I've-
info.
but your point
Yes, sir.
was something was the other priorities at the October meeting to prepare for not this Friday but next Friday's workshop on funding. Rate indicated that there's transit. The discussion about whether or not there's is likely to be discussed.
That would require a legislative vote. Have you forgotten who's on our delegation?
Anyway,
Good luck.
I know who it is, Janet, but I.
Well, are you thinking that they will vote to increase?
no.
Yeah. And
That's
if you
right.
don't play,
We go that route, my personal opinion.
take
Yeah.
off. You don't have to.
In context, parts. So, I don't know.
Which is a little harder
To may want about Brightline coming to Tampa. Willingness or interested to discuss that they would run some kind of
with those folks tomorrow, actually. So the next time we chat, I'll have.
for Pinellas. Well, they've been having. No, theoretically, Brightline is a. I don't know.
So to rebrand. So with a stop, it could potentially be having a big transit terminal center there. I gotta remember how to do this. Whitney, the little alter.
Weddings are overtired.
Yeah.
What?
Be even better. She's gonna put it up.
No, you can't do it. Okay, you gotta save it on.
RTS will signals. RTS vehicles won't wait. South Miami-Dade will travel along the center lanes with one lane in.
From downtown Tampa across the Howard Frank. And plus it's too heavy. figure out what BR
have a chance to get. Will they? Rapid transit service are just in testing phase, even though the concept of like Curitiba stations.
somebody like Brightline to the table as a partner, use as old, heavy, clunky buses, and I don't know what it was fun, and it was like
and certainly the could use that technology, and that operate just like a train.
this is just my opinion. I think it's is the most up to date, the most verbiage of B. But we can talk after. We disagree. Let's.
The City of St. Pete staff.
And was in my own brainstorming session in my head. Original
opportunities for forward, long transit.
Put it together so that it.
Maybe.
Rat.
Rat? Is that rat or reed?
Take the. Could have a mascot. It'd be great.
Well, it's not bad. It's corny. It's like
This blows.
To our state legislative priorities.
planning on being there or no? Excellent. Very good.
Okay.
In our meetings and part of our board, and one of the things that is on the legislative state when they if Janet, you have to put me on Medicaid tomorrow or whatever
Who are
they
do you know?
Sunshine is one of them, and statute, and by joining this, making this commitment and receiving state dollars, Medicaid dollars, in their little book that's about this thick for each person, it says, we will provide whatever is medically needy, and it is so much easier senior care, we have all those persons, we care, all of them. Call your Medicaid provider. That most people don't even call their Medicaid book that they get every January. They get a book this thick, and it's a copy. So in there it says, we're going to do this, but nobody knows, and the agencies don't, to make them provide what they say they will. Doing.
How is it that DART isn't one of their vendors?
So the four companies that you spoke of, Patty, they contract, they have contracts with, good contract with PSTA, and in fact, when this first started a couple years ago, we reached out to them in providing as few trips as possible. They really didn't have an interest in contracting with us.
They get a fee per person.
From federal Medicaid dollars that flow through the state for all Medicaid services, including all the
everything,
pharmacy and transportation. Make their citizens, the people that are on there, the transportation that the federal government, that the anymore. They used to, but they don't. It's 80% of our ridership on DART is going to
Care has become so difficult, and Medicare patients anymore, either of them. Struggle with the answer because
education of if they're aware of the issue, forthright in providing this transportation that they're supposed to provide.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. They're already meeting. What you mean for like from the appropriations?
Yeah.
I can kind of, yeah. I'm talking. So coming are the two main ones for appropriations. Appropriation side. Oh, absolutely, yeah. So we're taking Galvano's lead. Brandon says that we'll be working with Rasan as well because he wants to be actively involved.
Good. Okay.
Federal?
What's nice with Rasan, part of why he's important is he's obviously the chairman of both Hillsborough and the Pinellas County delegation. So we just, there's, the protocols.
Yeah, but is he still, because doesn't that turn over, or did it just turn over and he just got it?
He's got it.
Okay, good. I lost track of where we were in that. All right, are we ready to address, thank you, Natalie. Are we ready to address the federal piece, Brad? Shannon, are you still with us?
I'm still here.
I apologize for all the rambling on. Brad?
So, Shannon, do you want to give us any positive update on when the government's going to open up again?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I don't have much positive news on that front at this point. President Trump is scheduled to not only meet today with House Republicans for their caucus lunch up on the Capitol, but then later this afternoon he is going to have the top House and Senate leadership to come to the White House for further negotiations on the government shutdown. So we'll see what happens. The House is scheduled to take up the Senate-passed Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriations Bill for FY19 by Friday. So they're expecting a vote there. So we're the Senate said, of course, that they will not accept any appropriations bills over from the House until they have assurance that the president supports them. So I expect that we may still be at an impasse for the next few days. So stay tuned. We'll continue to update you, Brad, on any developments that we have on our end. The other thing that I wanted to highlight that happened at the end of December is that once the new Congress comes in, all of the nominations that were not accepted by the Senate essentially go away. So unfortunately, at the nomination of Thelma Drake to be FTA administrator is now no longer. So the president would either have to renominate her or renominate someone else for the position. As you may remember, there was a hearing on her nomination last fall, and there was lots of concerns from both Senator Menendez, who serves as the subcommittee chair for transit with the Banking Committee, as well as Minority Leader Chuck Schumer over the New York Gateway Project, as well as the administration's treatment for the Capital Investment Grants Program, where the BRT funding is coming out of. So that, I suspect, will continue to be an issue. It is unclear whether or not the president intends to renominate Thelma Drake or whether or not he will nominate anyone else at all. So stay tuned. We will continue to track that. But I did have a question to see if PSTA is starting to feel any effects of the current government shutdown.
Yeah, I think Debbie responded to a question to that. Didn't Harry send an email asking that same question?
Because we have sufficient funding in our reserves, it's not affecting us yet. We have about $1.5 million that we're waiting for reimbursement on when the systems and people come back for things that we've spent money on. But we're fine for now.
We're fine. Did you hear her, Shannon? We're fine for now. My question is, are there any Senate Republicans that we can pick off or help to pick off?
I mean, I do think it is important that, continue to stress. I mean, the House clearly has the vote, so I don't think it's as important, although it still would be great to communicate, for us to continue to communicate to our House delegation, but particularly the two senators need to hear that this is something that is and will continue to impact the community.
Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you for that update, Shannon. I will say...
for Rosie.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's going to get taken care of.
Somehow.
I have faith.
We're making really good progress on this list of federal, all five. We're making headway on all 5 of our federal legislative priorities, despite the shutdown. So I'm pleased with that. We have 2 trips planned to Washington, D.C., but potentially maybe a third trip that is even earlier. Right now, it looks like we're what we had planned on was attending the APTA Legislative Committee, which is in March, for our trip number 1. And then trip number 2 would be probably sometime when the Central Avenue BRT design is further along in June, hopefully in June timeframe. The other opportunity that I did speak to Harry a little bit about was with Congresswoman Castor being named to be committee chair over, I'm not sure what the name of her committee is.
It's the Select Committee on Climate Change.
Okay, Select Committee on Climate Change. And Commissioner Long's leadership on this in the Tampa Bay area, I guess there's a potential that the chair, Castor, would ask that maybe a contingent from the Tampa Bay area come up and speak to her committee about the climate change compact, and perhaps PSTA could highlight some of it, of the transportation elements that are important to that effort at the same time. And that sounded like maybe it would happen even before mid-March. I don't know. Janet, do you want to
Well,
say anything about that?
because she's very interested in the fact that we started out and between January and October managed to get 25 regional governments signed on to the compact, and then before the end of the year we added 2 more. So now we have 27. On top of that, it passed unanimously at both the policy conference and the legislative conference of FAC to make it a #1 priority at the state, to ask the state to develop a climate resiliency, sustainability plan, because they don't have one. Thank you, Charlie.
Sorry, excuse me.
See ya. Oh yeah, I got forward Pinellas, so I'm gonna have to,
Yes, you do.
turn it over to you.
In a few
Janet.
minutes.
That's all I have to say on that.
And Rachel's poll got interested board members' interest, right, on the federal trips as well.
Yes.
Anybody else besides the ones that you already mentioned?
No.
Oh, okay.
On the federal trip, it's the same names?
Yes. Well, 2 of the names I mentioned only indicated the tally trips.
Who wants to go to DC?
Commissioner Barkley, Vince Cox, and you.
Okay. Shannon, anything else you want to say about us coming up to our trips?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else for the good of the order? Patty? Joe?
No, good.
Anybody? No? Okay then, thank you everybody, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Good meeting. Lots of good discussion. Huh?
No, good, good.
Good.
Can I hear you?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to start a GoFundMe page. Help, our house is sliding into the lake. We need a retaining wall.
So we don't, billing us, I mean, we're getting invoices for stuff that we didn't anticipate in the budget. We need to talk about the finance.
Well, we're going to